Hello, folks. International law, as it really is, in the link of this title, for all new friends and followers, please click the YouTube link. I wrote this Oxford paper now more than 4 years ago. Since that time, and actually years before that time, I've been exploring the United Nations Security Council, the highest level of international law, complete source of the new world order post 1945. If you want to understand all American presidencies, all American governments, past, present, future, since 1945, that's where you have to start. Start with my paper. It's about a half hour of your time. It's audio. It's given to you on my Facebook timeline. You can look for the pictorial so you can read it yourself. No, I'm not going to go dig and research that for you, as that was released many, many years ago. Every now and then I release it. Yes, I have the file. I could send out an email. Maybe I will start doing that for petition people and those that come on forward strong with us going forward. But folks, our petition now is 100% certified. Sent it in to Mike Waltz with updates. I want to reflect on that for a moment because there's things that are serious that come with just being Canadian. We've been institutionalized into believing. So when we go to the highest authority in the world, when I'm sending stuff to Mike Waltz, we have that window, which was this month in their rotating presidency, that doesn't come around very often, if at all. And good luck getting an ambassador at that level to respond to you. You better be deadly accurate. You better understand what you're presenting. This is not my first year. This is my 8th year of UNSC presentations. I've had 3 different successes. Not that they don't take everything I've ever presented, but I've had 3 epic successes. This is a big one. This and residential school genocide are my 2 major successes. Published, they're there, they're undeniable. I was even answered by, yes, the Communist Party of China, who took that on. In international law, any UNSC, what they're called P5 power, can take on any resolution unto themselves and support that work, which includes sanctions, trade embargoes, and yes, military operations. They don't need anybody else because they have what's called the veto. I have an email on that too. That's all in my paper anyway. I explored this a very, very long time ago. And for a time period, for a number of years, my Oxford paper was #1 in the world. And unfortunately, the United Kingdom making up baloney international law, and I can say that. I know they're a P5 power. I know they have tremendous power, including the power to execute in this world. Make no mistake, they all have that power. You've watched Donald J. Trump utilize that. And if you think President Trump is a tyrant or somehow he doesn't fit the norm in international law, real rules-based order, you're wrong. He's actually just a puppy dog. In fact, Russia and USA are puppy dogs. If you want to know who's done the most executions post-World War II, individual executions, I have to say it that way. You can't say other words. You can use your creative mind to figure out what you think that means, but it's called executing. They have the power to execute in this world. They all have the power of arbitrary death penalty sentencing on the spot. We, the world of nations in the UN, gave them that power in a thing called Never Again. It's all in my paper. I go through all international law in that paper, 5,000 plus years of human history in international law. And I can tell everybody, regardless of what you think you know, or what you think the world is, or in your view of it, human rights have not been around very long at all. In fact, most of the world, not USA, okay, not America, that's its own country, its own constitution. It's been evolving its system for 250 years this year. So they've known many human rights, civil rights, political and cultural rights, natural law. They've known that for 250 years with, yes, levels of evolution. They're not perfect. No country in the world is. The difference is America grows, it changes, it gets better, where most of the rest of the world, very little changes, if not by full-on revolution. And even in that, it doesn't change very much. You can honest to goodnessly thank the United States of America, and yes, the current Russian Federation, and as it existed as the Soviet Union, for most of international rights, human rights. You can thank those two countries for the most active, the most epically changing for the world. And of course, why is that, folks? Why was World War II a super change for the world, really? Because we had two new superpowers step up on the stage. Now, China was there, but they weren't really active until the 70s, and they officially got their status recognized in the 70s. And that's the China One principle, all of it. I'm not going to get into that in this video, but if you want to learn the real rules-based world order, real international law, not the greatest of great liars, Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada's bullshit. And that's really what it is. Epic, large-scale bullshit supported by the United Kingdom, who is a continually degenerating UNSCP 5 power. And in fact, in military might, you can argue that do they really hold weight as a UNSCP 5 power? When you start measuring countries like Ukraine versus United Kingdom, who's more powerful? And it's not just them. You can start going around the world and start saying, hey, should India replace UK as a UNSCP 5 power? These are all debatable. Obviously, none of those 5 powers are going to give up what the world voted and gave to them in 1945. Like it or not, none of them are going to allow that to be disbanded. You'll never get Russia to agree. The United States, why would they? Why would China? Absolutely, why would UK? Absolutely, the very weak in France, why would they? They have their power. Like it or not, Donald J. Trump did tests as a real world power, the greatest world power today in military might, who can really world police. He did that test. He showed them for what they are and why there's no respect for them anymore, and why USA is moving forward without any respect, because they're following international law based primarily on the Constitution of the United States. Most of our human rights, everybody, like, I know this is going to be messed up for Americans, okay? And maybe a lot of Canadians know, at least older Canadians should know. My mother knew this truth. My mother acknowledges it. My aunts acknowledge it. But in Canada, for example, the crime of rape really wasn't a crime up until the mid-'80s in Canada. In fact, for a woman, if you'd gone out on a date and got raped, it was your fault. If you were out late after dark, walking home and you got raped, it was your fault. It was very hard in Canada for a woman to get that recognition. Now, that's not the same for United States of America. USA made that transition well before World War II, way before. And this is what is a monarchical thing. Not only do we have outrageous age of majority rules, especially for young child girls, right? That is really way out there when you start looking in America that, wow, it's at minimum 18, but 21 is generally the accepted age of majority in America. Whereas in Canada, in some provinces, it's arguable 14, 16, right? And these are some of your supposed conservative provinces. We have a lot of problems right now, especially with American Democrats who don't get this, that outside of the United States, most of the world ranges the legal age of majority 8 to 16 years old, right? Even Europe, 15 is generally acceptable in most European countries, some 14. Canada has these things too. Even the province of Alberta, 16, and that's generally it, and arguable for, right? So that this is what I think people don't understand in relation to Jeffrey Epstein. They don't want to accept the Peter Nygard portion of the Jeffrey Epstein files. And there again is violation of international law and what the Allies have bound into law and what's practiced by so many countries around the world. Even countries like Canada, just north of the U.S. border, way further along, at way less of a population. So per capita, we're seeing child crimes at many hundreds of times the rates of the United States of America. Because remember that legal language, age of majority, 19, 21 here, all of a sudden Canada, well, 14, 16, right? Think about that, Americans, for a moment. And this is what bugs me about Democrats on the radical side. Oh, we want to be Canadian, want to be, what, you want to be a pedophile, you want to be involved in child crimes. And it's not just that. There's drugs in this. There's many areas of international law created and bound by the United States and the world that's imposed on everybody. Nuclear's one for sure. A lot of people don't understand that. I get that. But this is what the United Nations Security Council, the highest authority in the world, an override for the entire world, where they're allowed to subsequently assess your country on any given time to see how many of these areas of international binding law you have breached. We have a perverted satanic prime minister named Mark Carney who works for the British Crown, the British government. He was central in them. Everything he got in Canada, his immense wealth created from that loyalty, not the loyalty to the people of Canada. And most certainly, as it is today, not to any loyalty, treaties, or trade pacts with the United States of America, especially on peace and security. And the idea that America, being a major source, if not the source of international peace and security, and you, Canada, you Canadians think in your elbows up world because you're not educated. Of course, you haven't been educated in any of your provinces because that crown system is regional and federal, and they've dumbed you all down regardless of what territory, what province you come from. They've screened it all. All historical premiers have participated in keeping this knowledge from you. When you read the Charter of the United Nations, 1946, the promise and vote of every country, never again. And just so every Canadian knows, your country was central in that. You were helping craft that since way before that, since 1944, and in fact 1945, your grassroots on that, one of the founding nations. And your country, as did all countries in the world today, promised to educate their children and all generations on the United Nations, what is and what isn't, and to have these educations rolled out in civics, in human and civil rights, and absolutely in natural law that's to be imposed, to be knowledge-based learning from early childhood up. No different than every American. And unfortunately, as fast as Canada signed off and agreed to all these things, as fast as Canada, like a whole pile of countries, threw it away. And for Canadians to understand, and the reason why we're in such dire straits today, why we've been on such a political downward spiral, is that you have to understand this. You've all got to remember, people must remember that Justin Trudeau, when he first got into office, so we're going back 11 years ago. 11 years ago, Justin Trudeau was on a major pulpit. We're going to return to the United Nations Security Council, because I can tell you, since its inception, the UN's inception, Canada spent a rotation every decade, every single administration of it, on the United Nations Security Council. We had no problem winning every single vote, maintaining all our obligations, and living up to what we promised the Allies of World War II. Well, what changed? Well, post the Amendment 1982, Canada started back on a road to the United Kingdom and started back returning to those old systems, old corrupt systems, because we never really left to begin with. 1982 didn't free us, neither did 1931. The crown never disappeared. It's just a matter of what middle management assumed those powers without any checks and balances. Checks and balances are well understood by Americans. There's absolutely none for Canadians, so they don't understand them really at all, because there aren't any. That's why there's no accountability or responsibility in government, none whatsoever. Government can be as corrupt as it wants to be. It can lie as much as it wants to be, federally and provincially, and there's nothing any of the people of Canada can do about it. There's no law enforcement agency that can do anything about it. Sure, they have their roles to report it, and sure, they push it forward onto those higher crown positions, attorney generals of the province, and for the federal, the attorney general of Canada. But good luck getting prosecution, and good luck finding a judge to hear your case. They won't, because they're all appointed by those same corrupt individuals. Nothing like America, sworn and appointed by the crown. Therefore, they will never be prosecuted. They will never be judged. All you'll ever get is the reports of all the crimes, high crimes they committed. And then when there's enough of them, don't worry, in 4 years, you get to throw them out of office and elect somebody else. That's if they don't hold snap elections. When they're popular, and when then they're not, they don't. And that's what they do. That's what they've been doing regularly. Big downward spiral. None of these things are possible in the United States of America, in their constitutional system. It's also a violation of international law, the founding principles of the UN Charter, treaty that every single nation agreed to. Canada wouldn't change. Canada hasn't changed. Years go by, resolutions, assessments happen in the world, countries continue to get fixed. There's a list of grievances against many many nations. And they're all prioritized in these UN resolutions where these 5 countries work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. They see it all. They have a rolling tally, whereas the rotating members who come and go, like Canada used to come and go, but was always there every decade, at least twice, 2 rotating memberships, at least twice. That all ended with Stephen Harper. And why? We violated every single treaty, massive breaches in international binding law. We imposed a whole bunch of agendas, ideas from Europe and the European, United Kingdom. I'm very tired because I'm coming off night shift again, folks. But they violated all their own laws and convinced all their colonial holdings, which are a violation of international law as well too, to implement all these breaches of rules-based order, international binding laws. Now what's happened with USA is they're now looking at it. We have fixed all these other countries, as I just showcased Japan. Hitachi got all the nuclear deals in those southern states through the federal government approved. Why? Well, go read their constitution. Go read all their treaty arrangements and agreements with the United States. Now go look at Canada's. Canada's in complete violation. Remember, Canada was an ally of World War II. Japan was an Axis. Japan went through a process, through a Nuremberg-style 2 trial, where over 1,500 politicians, military leaders, insiders appointed, were sentenced to death. They were executed by the P5, just like Nuremberg for the Nazis. Japan went through the second one, even more put to death. Japan changed. They got an imposed constitution in 1947. Canada was there for that. They were a rotating member who participated in the We the People Constitution. No, it's really funny, Canadians and Americans. You would think at that time Canadians would move forward and get the message that your shit document is exactly the same kind of shit document Japan had before it got put through Nuremberg 2.0 and then got the 1947 imposed constitution. You think that would have been a wake-up call for the then Canadian government, Tories and Whigs, aka Liberals and Conservatives. But it wasn't. They doubled down. They would go on after that, even though more went through imposed constitutions, because there's been 83 that the USA's had to do since 1945. 83. And former Soviet Union, current Russian Federation, yes, Communist China, yes, UK, yes, France. Do you think UK and France changed any of their evil ways? The answer is no. Oh, it's okay. We were on the Allies' side. You can't make us. Well, here's the thing about 2026. All the access is nearly done. Iran, Muslim Brotherhood, folks, those are all Axis powers of World War II. They're almost done. Do the math, 1945 to 2026, right? 55 years, and so it's already 81 coming on. It's 82 years this year, and they're about done that. Just like statehood of the Union, America has nothing but patience for democracy and democratic implementation. They will take it at a pace for the people. We're nearly done. So where does that rotate everybody else on the list? Where's Canada, who was an ally, but has implemented massive Axis power style international legislation domestically in Canada and in violation of trade and treaty and national security pacts with the United States of America. Where do you think we are on the list after they finish off these last two Axis powers? Where do you think Canada falls when they're the northern border, largest uncontrolled border on the most powerful UNSCP 5 country in the world? Well, it's not hard to figure out. We're very close. That list has gotten shortened in a hurry, in less than a year. How long, and I've been talking to people about this, how long until Canada is front and center? I don't think very long at all. I think within just a few short months. I think USA has an aggressive plan to have Canada up and center by this summer. And poor Canadians with their elbows up, who have no knowledge of international law, natural law, civil, cultural, political rights, they think that, well, their master Canada tells them how it is. That's the world. Canada's a great place. Don't worry. Little do they know that the only reason why Canada was ever a great place is because of its proximity to the United States of America and the check and balance against your government called the United States. But now you've got radical regime crazies, no different than the Axis powers, who've largely in the last 30 years moved rampantly exponentially towards what was an Axis power of World War II. And all you have to do is go look at the former older Japanese constitution or the former German Nazi constitution or the former South Africa apartheid constitution and compare it to Canada's constitution. You know what you find? Sure, they've got different nouns for the same legal definitions, but you find that this Canada Constitution looks a heck of a lot same and similar to those three crazy former countries. They look entirely the same. That's because those constitutions were designed off of Canada's Constitution. In a time of colonialism, the old world order, the order of enemies against the allies of World War II. Yes, that's right, Canadians. Your ancestors in World War II fought for freedom, fought against what? Fascism, right? But yet your system is fascist, entirely in design. Socialist and fascist. National socialist fascist now. Who is a nationalist, socialist, fascist regime? Oh yeah, Nazi Germany. What was the South Africa apartheid regime? Oh yeah, National Socialist Fascist. What do you think your government is in Canada? What do you think USA has to do about that, being on its northern border? What do you think USA thinks about all the northern state corruption that is found entirely in everything that's Canada? And it happens to really possess northern states, key northern states, Democrat. Why do the Americans now in the last few decades, almost three, really since 1993, it is 3 decades, 33 years, and that's really from Canada. Why did Americans all of a sudden adopt from donkey and elephant, from GOP and Dem? Why did they move towards liberal and conservative? Why did those names flood into their country? Those are not norms titles that are found in Webster for Americans. It's not. You don't have a liberal Whig party. You don't have a Tory conservative party in your country. Why do you use those words? Well, that's because of Canada's migration of their poison and perversion into you, convincing you that you are a Whig, you are a Tory. Do you know what that means? That means you're a subject of the crown. You're part of British North America. You're a subject, a slave. You don't have sovereignty. You're not a citizen. That's what it means when you say those words. In America, it's wrong. People can say MAGA is bad. Well, it's a lot better than conservative or liberal, because those words mean slave. Is that what you are, Americans? I don't think so. But you're seeing it. You're seeing it manifest in the radical libertarian side. You're seeing it manifest in the radical left Democrat side. Poisoned by Canada. And you see Canadians in a moral majority to this factor. Completely possessed. Mass immigration country, completely rot, with massive more resources than America by 200-fold. We have 200-fold more resources than you, but yet our financial system is much, much worse. Our level of wealth is much, much worse than yours. Our disparity, our 1% is way, way per capita higher in growth and power than yours. Our poverty is much more tremendously larger than yours. Our working poor, much, much more larger than yours. Our labor rights, much worse than yours. We're the scabby snow Mexicans now. It's really truthful, and it's shocking and surprising. Well, I don't know if it's surprising. It's not surprising to me. I think it would be more surprising to Americans that those most conservative provinces, in fact, are the scabbiest against America provinces looking to hurt America the most. We did a petition letter on that. I don't lie. I just tell the truth that Americans want to hear. Both mass majority Republicans and a good majority of Democrats, the smartest and strongest leaders of the Democrats. They wanted to hear that. They got that, and we did that. Which brings me to this point of the video, everybody. So our signature drive, unless I hear anything more, I will close it out no later than Monday morning. I will close it out after work. That will be the last submission. If I don't hear any more, it's been quiet. I think I've gotten everybody. So we had a little over 3% error rate. That's not all my error rate. That's shared. So I'm going to go through a few things when it comes to this that I've just taught all kind of new people. I get it. It's not Canadians' fault. They certainly weren't raised with any kind of education in civics, to be civics-minded, to be infused with any kind of real international law. You're lied constantly on TV. But having liar politicians and being a liar ourselves, we don't use aliases, or we don't run with, married names, or I don't mean married names. You use your legal name is what I mean. I mean, you don't sign petitions with your former name, right, before you're married or otherwise, because you're not sure when it comes to UNSC. I'm just saying, I'm not giving anyone trouble here. I'm just saying it doesn't look good. It looks shady. I did all these revisions. We got it up to 100%. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm just saying in future, when you hear that it's a petition to the United Nations Security Council, the highest legal authority of the world, the highest authority to override a country like Canada, including Mark Carney and everybody underneath him, absolutely, unequivocally, 100%. When we're doing something like that, it has to be your legal name, what you got on your license, what you file for your taxes, what you file to get employed. That's the name you use. You don't have to use it on Facebook. It doesn't even have to be in your email name. But if you're going to answer a petition in future, everybody, use that legal name for these kinds of petitions. All good, great. Don't use nicknames, or I use my middle name, not my real legal first name. Not good, not good. It's all good. We corrected. We're allowed to grow. We're allowed to make mistakes. we've rectified all that. Another thing is timely manner. When I say things have to come in a timely manner, you don't wait 6 weeks or 2 months for the last minute, hoping it was going to work out. It throws a monkey wrench. Third thing is, please follow instructions. Banging me with many emails. It did split up married couples because I had to alphabetize. You don't want doubled up names. That there were a couple instances of two individuals with the same name. Then the middle name's okay, right? And I only did it middle initial for those who wanted to provide it. I didn't require that. I just require your legal first and last name. You want to give the middle initial, great. Some people gave their full middle initials. Some were two, like I have two middle names. I didn't use that. I just put Dave Bjorkman, right? But I wouldn't use my middle name. I'll put it to you that way. If I was a female, I wouldn't be answering with my maiden name, not my legal married name, what's on my license, my passport, things like that. These are just things to know in future, or using a complete fake name on social media and then realizing, oh no, I gave that it for the petition and then I have to change it after. I did that and I entertained everybody on that, but in future, we can't do that. And when you get these emails, when you know it's something like this and it's a major scale, you got to be timely in your answers. You don't hold off for 6-8 weeks and then say to me, well, now that I see it's real, right? And I understand Canadians may want to wait for things, but Americans don't like that. That's part of being American, that you have to put yourself out there. You have to have that courage. You have to have that faith. That's being American. And if you can't do that and you're going to wait, well, I want to see if this is going to work out, because if it doesn't, then at least my name wasn't on there and I'm not a stupid asshole, right? Or however you feel. And it's like, you realize that it's kind of scumbaggy, right? It shows that you only got involved when you knew it was successful and you're hoping that you get your name on the petition so that way you go forward too, even though you waited absolutely until you knew it was a success, which is the wrong way to be. It sends a bad message. Now remember, everybody, and the reason why I say this, I'm not giving anyone shit, but remember, in the event I'm audited, they're going to go through all my emails, so they're going to see everything I'm relating to you right now. They're going to know everything I know. Who actually followed, who is kind of mischievous, who wasn't really for it. But in the end, they sure want the perk of, in case America says, say, all these people, we're going to let them into the United States. They're going to get citizenship. We like them. You know what I mean? I hope you do understand at this point what I mean. It's having conviction, having faith, going through the process, right? It's called win or lose. Sometimes you lose. I lose a lot in life. That's what a real American goes through all the time. Try and fall, try and fall. Many Americans fall, but they got to learn to pick themselves up. They got to take their lumps. It's not about what perks and privileges you get at somebody else's expense, or I'm not going to put myself out there. I'll let everybody else do it, but I'll rush in for the perk at the end if there is a perk. And it's just like, that's the wrong way to be. And again, that's why I'm saying all this. I'm not giving anyone shit. And for Americans who may be like, yeah, we don't want those kind of people, just remember, we weren't raised like you. Nobody was given any civics in this country. We were never given anything like Americans are given and gone through in their entire life. No one's ever read their Constitution in this country. It's never been presented in school. We only learn about heroes of the crown past in what's called social studies. You actually have to pay for high university education if you want to learn about the rest of the world in any kind of real, meaningful way. And I doubt very much that's even done in a real, meaningful way in university too. Because I know lots of university folks, as I stated, lots of Canadian academics that I've made an asshole out of, or a bitch out of on the world stage. and showing at least American academics and other worldly academics, especially from freed republics, what a real Canadian with a brain and what a programmed institutionalized doctorate are, and how asinine a Canadian doctorate. I even had one walk out and leave early on the Texas Forum that was 1 week, and I stayed, the only guy without a doctorate, and I was well received. Maybe not everybody. I shouldn't say that. I did have trouble with Croatia, but Canada and Croatia have a terrible history, and UN Action Canada did on them, and they will probably hate us forever. You saw it in soccer and how they responded to Canada. That's always going to be a feeling for Croatians against Canada, and if you ever want to know why, read the UN resolutions and see what Canada did to the Croatians, and then you'll understand in independence. They called it a genocide, all of that, but was it a genocide, or was more Canada protecting its crown interests by protecting another crown entity, one of the 9 kingdoms? I shit you not, can't make this stuff up, but this is truth, this is reality, contrary to what people want to tell you. Again, for anyone new, if you really want to get to a slow, rolled out historical presentation, it's 30 minutes of your life. It's called The Nature of International Law as It Really Is. I even in that paper teach you how to calculate a country's ability to conform to international binding law and how likely they are to fail. I even give the tremendous example only of my own country, Canada, and the likelihood that the government of Canada, whether it be Liberal, Conservative, NDP, Bloc, Green, all the provincial parties absolutely will fail at this rate this many times. And it's so easy to calculate. It's a pile of work, but it was worth it because it's led us to where we are. It's led me and everything we're doing to where we are. It's why we're having the most success now that I've ever had in 8 years. Well, I'm not going to say ever. Residential school genocide was a huge one too. There's been others, but this one is I've never had this much epic feedback ever from the UNSCP5 ever in my life during a presidency, let alone it being the United States of America. Yeah, at first, it's just like poof, it hits you so hard, and you're like, wow, like, is this for real? And then we'll be looking now I'm kind of like, geez, near the end of March, can you please stop emailing me? Because I got to go through so much and I'm drained and tired from work, right? Oh, crap, I missed this, right? Don't make me change everything again. Not in the last day, right? But they don't. It's good. But it's, I'm enjoying it. And what's really sad is it's going to be lights out from UNSC now, come just a few short days. And then this, which was bestowed upon me for all of us, is going to go silent again. And then we're going to sit there in the dark, except for what I research and read and go through until the next presidency, until the next mission. So God bless you all. Thank you all, friends and followers. Thank you all Canadians. And yes, Alberta independence people, Alberta 51st State Movement, Mega 51, Alberta Prosperity Project, and yes, Canada, the 51st state, my little baby. Love you all. Thank you, everybody. It was so very, very important to show America that at least 1,000 Canadians understand, totally get it, understand where you are. And if you don't think that isn't a major thing for subjects with zero civics, zero cultural and political science training, international law training, no higher education in any of these concepts, to come forward with that and deliver on such a magnitude of understanding isn't just, whoa, an impossible feat. You're wrong. And America sees it. America at the highest levels, both Republican and Democrat, because I can guarantee you, even the Democrat committees are just going to be tickled pink to read this stuff. And they will get it. So God bless. Love you all. Take care. We'll talk soon. Bye now.